Hey, I built a rag pipeline for my student government board. I'll make this quick. First off, I don't really like the setting for this. The lighting isn't good. The sound quality probably isn't the best, but we'll work with it. But yeah, build a RAG pipeline for my single government board. What's a RAG pipeline? Retrieval augmented generation is what RAG stands for. Retrieval augmented generation is basically, think about an AI. Think about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is trained on thousands and thousands of data, probably millions actually. Now I think about it, or billions. But the point is they're trained on billions and billions of data. However, if you want let's say I want data on a specific subset. If I want an answer based on a specific subset of data, how do I do that, right? How do I get an accurate answer? Because if I'm asking ChatGPT, which is trained on millions and millions of data, for that specific answer I could get from that subset of data, it's likely going to hallucinate because it gets confused with the whole billions and billions of data that's dealing with. So you have stuff like retrieval augmented generation, where it's like it retrieves the data from a specific subset of data, if that makes sense. The point is, it doesn't have to make sense. It's pretty cool. But I built it for my Stinkerman board. And why did I do that? For Sgb Stinkerman board, we basically allocate money to clubs, right? And the way it works is that we have a specific governing code that we abide by to do that. There's some interpretation here and there, but we have a governing code nonetheless. And while I was thinking originally, I was like, oh, let me build an AI, an agent what you have, or whatever you call it, right? An AI that essentially like says, oh, should we approve this request to get to have money, and like not for like to actually use it, but just for the fun of it. But then I was doing some thinking. I was like, oh dang. First off, that's probably gonna get a lot of backlash thinking about like if people thought I was using AI to approve requests, then that's probably not gonna be the best thing. But also thinking about like it's still a cool idea. And then from somewhere, like I stopped thinking about it for a while. Then I was just walking, and then the idea came into my head. But what if I switched like the roles, and instead of having an AI to approve requests, I had an AI that helped people get their request approved. But at least like giving them the information they needed to know that to basically like get the to draft the best possible request for allocations to your club. And the idea is like, okay, you have a governing code, but I want no specific answers. Like, can I get approval for funding for capital improvements, right? A capital improvements like, well, let me buy a new gardening plan for my club's building or club's room, and you cannot do that because capital improvements are not approved for funding, right? So having that information could probably help. So that's the whole idea of this Racknix. You can just get like you have an AI that answers specifically off of this, and you can obviously go to the governing code and do it yourself. But many people may not want to do that, and it's just kind of cool having this there. I think the next stage of this, even though I should probably say it before I go to the next stage, the next stage of this is to have an AI that basically like gives you an idea of what SGB might ask, or when you submit a request for funding. So like let's say I have a draft request, and like okay, I just want to make sure the thing is solid and good to go. I can submit it to an AI. Like okay, and ask me like the following questions. So I actually get that cleared up before I submit it to the allocations committee. Which if it's over $2,000, they will submit it to the executive board. Um, that's the idea. But let's show off real quick. Okay, let's try and get this done in the most feasible way possible. Okay, so here's the um here's the code from like the front end of things. So I did a capital improvement. I'm just gonna do. Let me see. What's an actual question I can ask about the governing code deficit spending? Okay, let's see this question. Refundable deposits shall not be approved. That is a rule. Let me ask it as a question though. Are refundable deposits approvable? Let's ask that. Let's see if this works. Hopefully it works, because it'll be really embarrassing if it doesn't work. Refundable deposits are non-approvable as stated in the governing documents. The relevant sections explicitly mention that refundable deposits shall not be approved, right? So that's the whole idea. I ask a question that can be answered from looking at the allocations governing code or the SGB governing code, wherever you want. And then it gives me an answer based off of that without any hallucinations. On the back end side of things, it wasn't too crazy. And to be honest, I was kind of just using a tutorial from OpenAI to kind of just get the general idea. And that's something I do like because it was pretty simple. And I was trying to find something just to get my hands dirty. But then it also costs money. It costs like a couple cents. It costs like if I keep on using it, the costs are going to increment like by a couple cents. So that's not ideal. So maybe find like an open source alternative that doesn't cost as much will be really awesome, especially if I want clubs to use this on a wide scale. But yeah, this was pretty much the setup. This was, I believe, to break down the governing documents into like a couple, to break it down to couple, chunks to be retrieved. Let me see. I can't even remember this code. So code for updates. Yeah. Vector stores. Yeah. And then this was the actual retrieval, I believe, if I'm correct. I could be wrong. But yeah, retrieve this retrieval. This is kind of like the front end stuff. And then this is like the HTML stuff, so that's the actual front end stuff. Honestly, nothing too crazy. I think I was much more excited, but now as I'm explaining, I feel like I'm coming off less excited. I don't know. I think that's just a general thing with coding and me. Like, internally, I'm very excited. When I'm like doing the stuff by myself, I'm very, very excited. But if I'm doing it, I'm recording it, then it's like less exciting. I'm like, oh, dang, someone's probably done this much better. But yeah, I'm trying to find the right. Yeah, this is it. So this was I'm going to try and link this in the video, but this is the article I used to kind of get the idea. It obviously isn't one-to-one. You have to adjust stuff. I think that was really nice. And I'll be very upfront. There was times if I needed to edit something, I'll just go to like open it. I'll go to ChatGPT or Gemini and like, okay, hey, I don't know what's going on here. Help me with this, and then explain it to me or give me a code to do it, and I'll do it. So I think that's a really nice relationship. Obviously, there's the whole idea of like depreciated learning and all that, but I think if you use it properly, then you should be good enough, or you should be fine. But yeah, I'm really, really excited. Once again, I think I already said the next steps in the previous section, but I think the next steps with this is really just to be like, okay, I want to give a draft request, and I want to be like, okay, is this going to be approved? I think obviously with the Achieve Augmented Generation, that's amazing. But I also think another aspect of it comes from, okay, how can I want to try training like a model, based off like previous allocation requests, to see if that can like help it improve, or maybe not. Because another thing you also have to account for with, the nature of Sgb and the governing codes being interpretable is that different years have different, interpretations of the governing code. So, 1 year's data, like 2017's database of requests that were approved may be different from 2018 and 2019 and 2020 and so on. So I think that's another thing you have to account for. But I do think it's a really cool thing to start off on, just from the, like on one hand, I'm in student government body, executive board, so it's really personal to me. But on the other hand, I think it's a really great way to just like, I'll make things more accessible in the school and just kind of like, not even modernize, just kind of push the edge of what schools do in terms of technology and student government body and just society in general. But very, very excited. Pretty rudimentary stuff so far, but can't wait to advance it. Besides that, though, I have nothing else to say, so have a great day.